Hey, welcome back to Pave the Way podcast, everybody. I'm here with Tom Parmentier from the Washington, D.C. metro area, and I am really excited to have him on the show because he's got an incredible story. So, Tom, thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, guys and girls, if you've not heard of Tom, he is a very, very experienced investor out of the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, that whole kind of metroplex over there. And he worked for a large real estate company for the last, I think, was it 12 or 15 years, Tom?
12 years.
Last 12 years. And over the last 12 months, he actually decided to go out and start his own company. And he's doing something very, very unique in the marketplace that's making him stand out from all of his competitors. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. So Tom, before we kind of get into kind of what you're doing today, can you just kind of tell the listeners a little bit about your background and what you did before you got into the real estate industry?
Yeah, so I think one thing, about me, I've always been interested in figuring out how things work. Breaking down like computers when I was little and, trying to make a couple dollars, hustling here and there, but very much like big picture, like not into school. I mean, I have a degree in finance from George Mason, but like school's definitely not my thing. So I really like the whole entrepreneurship kind of journey of where like you just kind of figure stuff out. Like there's no playbook. I'm engineering. I thought about it at one point, but that definitely didn't happen. So yeah, kind of in a nutshell, my story is grew up in the DC area. Been here forever, and I was going to school. I was trying to play golf. And I wanted to, long story short, I went to one school, didn't work out. I was going to walk on, got in this car accident, and then I got my first sales job. And I had a friend who we used to work at the golf course. He's like, "Hey Tom, I just got a job at this window company, and I made $1,500 this week." I was like, "What? What are you talking about? How would you make $1,500 in a week?" I mean, I think it was making like $7 or $8 an hour, working in a pro shop, but it was great because it allowed me to play golf for free. So that was really the only reason. And he's like, and the best thing is they hire anyone. I'm like, get out of here. So I get this job selling, windows and siding and doors. So like, I just bring that up because, if you know anything about that industry, it is like cutthroat. You got like old school sales guys where you got to like kick guys out of the house. It's like the one call close. You close it
Yeah.
or you're never talking to them again. If you've ever seen the movie like Tin Man, it's a great movie and it kind of shows like this was in the 70s about like how that whole industry works. But anyway, so did that and that kind of got me into real estate in kind of a way just because I was in people's homes and kind of seeing what was going on. But I was always very different. I wasn't like the aggressive you got to push me out of here
Yeah, like
or
sign right now, act quick. Yeah.
yeah, I was very, just from early on was just like about listening and making sure that I'm answering their questions and I'm not raising objections and speaking out of turn. So I kind of differentiated myself in that industry and did really well. And I did that while I was in school. Like I said, I went to school, did well, but school wasn't my thing. It was just something I had to do. And so this worked out well. I could take classes and then I could go on appointments in the evenings and weekends and made a really, did really well and it was great, but got tired of that after a while when one day I was looking online for a job. I graduated from college in 2005 and I came across this company called Express Home Buyers. And I'm like, what is this? I thought it was like a discount real estate brokerage. I was thinking about maybe getting my real estate license at that time. And then like, I knew nothing about real estate investing, nothing about wholesaling. Like they didn't teach you this stuff in college. Like in college, I learned how to read like financial statements and financial reports and case
Yeah.
studies, but they didn't really tell you how to like, how you can make money. And met, Brad and Judd, and they hired me, and I was there for 12 years. I started as the lowest on the totem pole. I was just a salesperson, home buying specialist. I think a lot of people have taken that name. That was something that Brad came up with, and I've been in thousands of homes, talked to thousands of sellers, been trained by the best, and have just been exposed to a lot, and just really grew through them over the years. So starting there in '06, then the financial crisis.
Oh yeah, that was right then. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
2 years into it.
Yeah, so timing was crazy. So I've seen, the ups and downs and the roller coaster and all this REO stuff. I've seen some development stuff. But I've always been just kind of like really interested in like making things work. Like I really love sales and I enjoy sales, but I really like, building. And one thing that I was able to do at Express was just continue to help push them forward, put systems and processes together. A lot of people that, get into real estate investing, they do it because it's a great income, but they're not necessarily thinking about it as a business and, how to run a business. And they're just like exposed to a lot of great resources and mentors and books over the years. And yeah, I left there last year. I was the COO when I left, had, 10 salespeople, multiple markets. And now I'm, pretty much a solo entrepreneur. My wife's helping. I have a business partner, but he runs a real estate team, and we're running this company called Max House Price now. So
that's awesome. And you have a very interesting story. And that's why I think we were going back and forth on Instagram. I'm like, dude, you got to come on the show. I got to get you on here. I mean, I've known you a little bit. We did a little bit of work with you last year, but like when you were with Express, but I've never really kind of chatted with you just about life and about business and stuff. So before we transition into kind of what you're doing today, what were some of maybe the top things you learned working with a very successful real estate firm for 12 years? Because I think that a lot of people, they want to jump right into it. And you were like a college kid, you were super young. So you got so much experience being, involved in a very successful, massive real estate business that, people know about them all over the country, right? Like even if you Google We Buy Houses, they pop up nationwide. Like they're all over the place. What were the biggest things that you learned just from being involved with such a, successful company for, the better part of, more than a decade?
Well, we probably could talk about that for like an entire day. And
like just the summer, like the 80-20 version of it.
Yeah, the thing that like initially comes to mind like before anything is like the people. So if you're growing a business and you're building a business, it doesn't matter how good your company is, how good your processes are, how different you are, how well funded you are, how creative you are. If you don't have good people, then you're going to struggle, because if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to grow, and I'm living this right now because I'm looking to hire like a right hand, and you just need really good people that are bought into the vision of what you're doing that make you better. So it just comes back to, what do most people do? They hire fast and like fire slow, and you really want to hire slow and fire fast. So I would spend, depending on the position, when I was at Express, I was, responsible for the majority of the recruiting of salespeople and other operational positions. The big thing for me was I would spend 8 to 10 hours, with any candidate before there was an offer made to bring them on. So like, you really need to make sure that you have the right people, because it doesn't make sense to me. What will happen? We'll have coffee, you'll get me talking about myself because you're a good salesperson. Everyone likes to talk about themselves, and I don't even learn much about you. And I'm like, I really like Greg. Greg's a good guy. I hired Greg because he made me feel good about myself. Just kind of like a lot about what, you guys talk at REI Sales Academy, get people talking. Well, you didn't learn anything about them. And now how much time do you spend the first week? 40 hours, with this person this first week, and you didn't spend any time up front getting to know who they are. It's a lot harder to, cut ties, after you're like, you just try to make things work. And just my experience was, you find the right people from the beginning, then things work, versus I got this so-so person, maybe it'll work out, maybe it'll not. Like, usually it doesn't work out. I mean, I hate to be, a naysayer on it. I mean, there's certain situations where you have someone who has the drive and they have the character qualities, but a lot of times it's like, if it's not working out, you're doing a disservice to that person by keeping in your organization. Like, help them find where they need to be. So that's something that, was something that learned through trial and error. It wasn't something that like I, knew. It was just from experience, like that really just reinforced itself time and time again.
Yeah, no, that's like a big takeaway for a lot of people, because I have a lot of people listening to the show who are experienced investors, and then I have some new people. And, I think almost like what you said, you started with Express. I mean, they were a relatively new company, and you kind of went in there and you really saw that company and you helped build that company to where they went from a smaller operation to now they're, a nationally recognized company. So you got to see how that process unfolded. And I think sharing that whole hiring nugget, it's so powerful because even with me, like I'm at the point now where, I do a good amount of deals every month, and I have a VA, right? And I have some people I JV with, but for the most part, a lot of it is on me. And I'm starting to realize now, like, I need to bring people on my team, and I need to have other people become experts at the things that I'm good at, because then I can really look at the business from a whole perspective and not be like in the trenches and dealing with title issues and marketing situations. And I can really just kind of look at the numbers and really, like you said, with hiring a lot of people, you could probably tell within the first, 2 weeks, there's some red flags you see. You're like, I don't know about this. And then next thing you know, it's like this big downward spiral and, it blows up and you're like, oh man, I should have just not hired them to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, the interview process for me was about finding red flags. It wasn't about, it's just like, can they withstand? And then especially like if it's a sales position, I kind of have like a couple of rules. Like I don't follow up with people. So if you're listening and you apply for a job for me in the future, I'm not going to follow up with you. Like I will tell you the next step, but I'm not going to follow up with you. I'm not going to run around and chase you, because if you can't chase me, what are you going to do with the seller? What are you going to do with the deal? Like so I'm always
nugget alert.
Yeah. These little tiny things that I think make a big difference to where I just want to know someone's character. Like experience is great, but like, who are they as a person? What can they do? Certainly like bringing in, different people because they bring in different experiences. But when you're hiring someone, you want to hire someone who, is stronger than you at what you're hiring them for, so that you can continue to, elevate and grow your business. Bring people on that are going to be pushing you instead of you pushing them all the time. It makes such a difference. And I was fortunate to have, some phenomenal people over the years where, you just hire good people. They do a great job. You just kind of give them some guidelines and let them go and let them do their own thing.
No, that's fantastic advice. I mean, that nugget alone you just dropped, like you don't follow up people because you want to see how their behavior is like. And that's such a good, like, I never even thought about that because like you said, how you do anything is how you do everything. So like, if they're not going to say, hey, Tom, did you get my resume? Hey, Tom, do you want to, follow up? Like, when you hire them and you, especially in a sales business, like real estate, in my opinion, the money's made on the follow-up usually. Like it's not the first contact. It's like the fifth or sixth contact. So, that's such good advice.
I would intentionally like ignore emails at times too, just to like see, if I had, if I was feeling, good about myself and I had enough candidates, like maybe ignore an email or phone call and, just kind of see what happens. Maintain that leverage and control. Like how much do they want it? And I would even like put people through the ringer at the end, like where they would go through like 8 hours. And just be like, you know what? I just don't know that this is going to work out. And I would send them a message and say, let me know. I remember doing this with one particular person that blew me away. And I said, let me know why you want to come, work here. And what are you going to say to your, family and friends if you get hired here? Like, how are you going to feel about it? Because again, you're looking for people that, especially in this real estate business, that are just going to like, you got to hustle and you got to grow and you got to be passionate. It's not about collecting a paycheck. We're trying to build wealth, right? In real estate, you're trying to grow a business. It's competitive, super, super competitive. So you need really good people. So I'm looking for that now. So if you're listening and you're an operational, guru, but you can sell, hit me up. Cause, for me, I'm going to take my time. I could hire someone today, but I'm going to wait till I find that right person. I'm not going to just jump in just because I'm stressed out.
And go through a bunch of bad people and spin your wheels, man. I totally feel you. And that's kind of how I am. Like, I'd rather, like I did that with the VA is a little different, but like, I kind of like the way that I hired my VA, like she does a lot of stuff for me. Like I wrote a sales copy, like hiring letter thing. And I tried to like disqualify everyone. And I'm like, if someone's crazy enough to read this and respond to this, they might work out. And she's been working for me for like a few months now. And she's been fantastic.
That's awesome.
I almost tried to like disqualify them through a sales letter. So let's get into the meat of the show today. So I want to talk about, obviously you left Express about, when did you leave Express?
November of last year. Yep.
November of last year. So around a year ago. So you went out, you started your own business. So I want to kind of let you take the stage here and just kind of explain, what is your business? What do you guys do? And I think it's very interesting to see that your business model, because I really don't know it that well. I know that I see on social media a little bit and we interact back and forth, but it's almost like we're having a cup of coffee right now and I'm catching up with you and we're like figuring out like, hey, Tom, how you been? So what is Max House Price? And like, how are you guys, like what made you kind of get into that area? And then how do you guys kind of operate on a day-to-day basis? Because you guys are standing out from a lot of the investors in your market. And it's very interesting. And I would like to know more.
Yeah. So I'll maybe like back up for a second and then get into to kind of tell like how it came about. So
okay.
I have my business partner, Brian, that I've known before I was at Express. We met at a networking group when I was selling windows, and it was one of those guys where we stayed in touch every quarter. We'd grab breakfast, just catch up. Hey, what's going on? Where do you need help? And, sometimes it's, how can I help Brian? Sometimes it was, Brian helping me. It was just this very, fruitful relationship.
Give and take. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We genuinely cared about each other. And like, it was like, we loved talking about business and talking shop. So Brian, my partner, he runs a successful real estate team in the DC market. And it's amazing what he's been able to do. He's probably going to do about $75 or $80 million in sales this year with his real estate team. He's got about a team of 8 or 9, and 99% of his business is referral. Like we get these conversations. He's starting to warm up to it now because he's seeing it work for Max House Price, but all of his business is through B2B relationships. So his thing is, if he sees people going left, he's going right. It's always about being different and standing out from the crowd. And he's done a great job of that, of providing value to, other businesses by connecting businesses. And as a result, he's elevated himself into this position where he just generates a massive amount of referrals. So he was telling me, as I was, contemplating, thinking about doing something else, he's like, hey, Tom, I had this seller where they were like behind a month, and it was this condo and it needed some work and she didn't have any money. And like the cash buyers just like, they couldn't buy the house. Like, and he even has bought houses from time to time. Like he does, just personally does some investing. And it's like, just the numbers, there was no way to make it work. And he said, how about I catch up your mortgage and I'll put in, I don't know the amount. It was like 5 or 10 grand, like small condo, like carpet and paint.
Yeah, that's my style. That's the Greg Helbeck rehab, my favorite.
It's very easy. In and out in a couple of days, clean it up, and then put it on the market and see if I can get you, some money. Like she was just hoping to break even, and he lands up doing this, and he nets the seller like $10,000 or $15,000. And so she was like ecstatic because she just wanted to get out of it. She thought she was going to lose the house. There was no margin to be able to buy the house, but he was able to fix it up enough to where he could get a regular buyer, retail buyer to buy the house. And I'm like, slow down a second. What did you do? I'm like, this is crazy. I've never heard of this. And I'm sure a lot of people know, and this listening to this podcast, that in real estate investing is about a numbers game. You're going to talk to a lot of people. You're trying to find the right person at the right time where there's enough pain and there's enough motivation. You get plenty of people where they'd be willing to sell to you, but it's going to come down to the numbers. They don't have enough pain to where you're going to be able to, overcome that by, this discount that you're going to offer.
Yeah.
Like, that's really interesting. And after having done, Express for 12 years, kind of wanting to do something different, the whole idea was, all right, well, I'll come help you grow your real estate team. Cause I'm like, Brian, you're awesome. Like, people need to know about you. What you're doing is amazing. Like, let me help you take your real estate team to the next level, since I have experience of, growing teams and, real estate organization. And let's see what we can do with this, Max House Price model. So we started it, and early on I got a referral from someone, from a realtor, at a completely different company. And we weren't planning to work with other realtors. Like, we never had this planned, because I'm like, if we're going to do this now, I also have to execute and make sure that the seller's happy. Now I have this real estate agent. If I mess up with this real estate agent, they're going to let everyone know. And, it's going to put me, in a difficult position.
Totally.
So like my level of execution has to be really high because, I got this realtor's moving and shaking, like wants this done. We got the seller. So we landed up doing a deal with another agent, and it just kind of opened up for us. Like, this is where it's at. We can really help agents. So what we do at Max House Prices, we pay for renovations with our own money, and then we get paid when the house sells. So there's no interest cost, there's no financing, there's nothing to the seller. And again, we put it all up. We do a joint venture with them, and then we get paid when the house sells. So it's a great situation because it's good for the agent because now they have a house that's going to sell fast. We're in a competitive market in the DC market. I know all markets are competitive.
DC is crazy, man. It's like San Diego. It's hyper competitive. Yeah.
Prices have gone up, and then a majority of your buyers are millennial buyers. If you look at all the data, millennial buyers, they want turnkey. They don't know what sweat equity is. When I bought my first house, it was a short sale. I'm like, I want a deal. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do some work. I'm going to, get some sweat equity. You don't see that as much in the marketplace anymore with your retail buyer. They want to move in, unpack in 2 days and go because they got two jobs, their husband and wife or whatever, they're both working. It's expensive, cost of living. So, they just don't have time and they don't have, the resources to do that. And then also a lot of homeowners, they bought their house 10 years ago. They've been lived in, they got kids, they got the dog, they got family. And, the house looks okay, but it's dated by today's standards,
Yes,
totally. The dark cabinets, like everything's now like gray walls, white trim, white ceiling, white cabinets, very clean. It looks great. That's what buyers want, but they have all of their equity in the house. They don't have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in cash sitting in their bank account. And if they do, they don't want to spend the money because who wants to fix up their house before they're selling it for someone else's enjoyment? And then the risk of hiring a bad contractor. We all know someone who's hired a contractor who took the deposit and that was it, right? And then maybe happened to you, it sounds like. So we just saw this as an opportunity to serve sellers that aren't really being served well, and then help agents and create this kind of business now where, again, everyone's kind of going this way. We're looking at, how can we look different? How can we add value and then rely on, my partner? He's extremely well connected. And then just my experience of being, if you look at my disc profile, I'm like an 88C. So it's all about, detail and things being done right. It just was like, it was a perfect match for both of our strengths to like try something new. And we've done about 20 so far this year. So, and yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. So I have a couple questions on that model because it seems very like, from my perspective, it seems like a brilliant business model. So my first question for you is, how does the company earn revenue? Like, how does that work? Like, is it a commission basis or is it a net profit split? Like, just fill me in on how that works.
So really simple. It's just through the construction. So we're able to get construction done for X and we charge Y. So the great thing about us having to have some volume of business already is we have a couple of great contractors where I've been able to keep them busy the whole year. And that's every contractor's, kind of struggle. Like this small contractor, it's just like what we're probably both struggling with. But for them, it's even on a deeper level because they have to be at the house. They have to be doing work to the house. When do you have time to build your business? You can be working in your business or you can be working on your business. And a lot of people have a really hard time, like with the whole E-Myth thing. Like you get into entrepreneurship because you want to build this business, but what happens is you're just a worker. You're not an entrepreneur at all.
Technician. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's most contractors. You have really good contractors that do great work, but they can never, build this business. So if they can't build this business, then they lose their laborers and it just becomes this cycle. So my whole goal is I want to make my contractors flourish. I want to teach them, like, let's take a look at your expenses and your accounting. How are you doing things? Like, are you tracking how you're paying your people? So really trying to elevate them so they do a good job for me. I treat them like my employees, help them grow so that they help me grow, and we both win. We kind of call our whole system like it's the win-win home selling system. It's trademarked, so you can't take it, but it's a win-win. The seller wins, the agent wins, the contractor wins, we all win. And that's really our goal at the end of the day.
You make the profit on the construction, or do you get a portion of the sale? I'm just a little confused. So
on the construction. So if I can get it, we're marking it up, 25 to 50% over our cost. So I always tell people we're kind of like medium high price. I'm not going to be low. I'm not going to be high, because if I'm on the high end, no agent's ever going to, refer me to their client. So we're able to keep our contractors busy to where I can keep my pricing low so that the price that I pass on to the seller is still super competitive, but then they're getting us to manage it and they're getting our capital. So that delta of being, medium high.
Oh, they don't pay for the rehab. You pay
exactly.
For that.
We pay for the rehab. So it's worth the peace of mind for them.
Interesting. So you pay for the rehab, and then they turn around and then they're basically paying for when the property sells, that there's a delta there and you're making some of the spread off the construction.
Exactly.
Interesting. How are you guys financing these? Like, are you using private money or hard money? Because that's a interesting.
No, right now we're using our own money, but we are looking for private money. So
that's a smart business model. I'm like blown away. I'm like, wow, no one's doing that. No one's doing it.
There's a couple, organizations that do it and do it in different ways. I think a lot of agents do this.
Yeah.
Just as an opportunity that comes across their plate, like Brian had. But no one's doing that as like the business model. It's a grind. Like, it's not as profitable as wholesaling or rehabbing. It takes a level of, execution that's, completely different. When you buy a property and you're rehabbing it, it's you and maybe your money partners, right? Now I got, our money, I got an agent, I got a seller, like there's a higher level. Yeah.
That's interesting. But it seems like it's, obviously, way more about this than I do. It sounds to me like it's a lot easier for you to go find a legitimate client to raise their hand and say, let's do a deal, than it is. Cause like wholesaling for me, like I'm 1 out of 35 on direct mail leads. Like, I know how to convert my marketing, but a lot of wholesalers, investors struggle, like new ones, because they don't understand advertising and how to acquire customers. So it seems to me like in your business, the margin might not be there, but I bet you it's like you said, referrals earlier. It's easier for you to get referrals because that's the type of business that you have. It's for the consumer. It's so much more of it's so much more attractive to that customer opposed to taking an investor offer, because
we're flipping the house together.
Yeah. You're flipping the house together. Yeah. That's interesting. So when you're doing the construction, where do the sellers go? That's my second question.
They got to be out of the house. So there's definitely, it doesn't work for everyone. We've, if you have the right house and it has a basement, depending on the scope of work, it's possible to do, the work while they're there. If it's very like, paint and carpet kind of stuff. But if you're remodeling kitchens and bathrooms, like we're not a retail construction company. And a retail construction company looks very different than the way that we run our company, because we're like a bull in a china shop. Like, we come in and it's like, let's go. Retail construction, they got the office person. They have all these people that can coordinate. It's all about scheduling and processing. And it's different. The project can take longer because they're getting the money in. They're not fronting it. So for us, with putting our money out, we want to get the house on the market, with that agent, as quickly as possible.
100%. That makes sense. That's interesting. So do they go to hotels? Do they go live with their in-laws? Or what do these people do?
Yeah. I mean, I've had someone that's gone to like where we had a month-long project. They went to like an extended stay. I've had people go with family, some people have already moved.
Interesting.
Every situation's different.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I really, Man, I'm learning a lot from this podcast, because you're standing out amongst the sea of other investors around the country, right? And it's very interesting that you're able to, work with Express for so long and then pivot successfully into this business now. And I think your experience, I mean, you have all that experience, so you're able to really, like, it's not like you're a newbie who's like never done deals. You've done thousands of deals. So for you to go jump into this, you know what I mean? It's like,
Oh,
man,
this would be, I would not, we're looking to grow, and, if you're interested in this, like we have big plans, like we're proving out the model. We've proved it out this year. Now it's about how do we grow and how do we scale, and a couple things we're doing, whether it's through like coaching people how to do that and partnering, or maybe even bringing on some affiliates in other markets. But this is definitely not a newbie, kind of thing, because there's just less margin for error. You get a wholesale deal, you're wrong on your numbers. Worst case, you're out a couple $100 on your deposit. Worst case, maybe not even out anything. So it's real money. I mean, it's real.
Yeah, it's more capital intensive, and there's skin in the game. So as we start to sum up the show here, what can you walk me through and the listeners through a case study on a transaction, just so we can kind of see, like, just a recent one that like where you got the lead and how it just looks, so people, because I had Eddie Speed on the show last week and we were talking about creative financing, and he walked everyone through a deal. So I think if everyone can kind of see how a deal would work, I think it'd be a good spot to end on.
So if you go to maxhouseprice.com, we have information on these deals that we've done. I have a couple case studies, but one comes to mind is one of the bigger projects that we've done. This was a house in Burke, and I'm maybe going to pivot for a second and stand on a soapbox about how relationships are super important. So never, you forget how small the world is. So how this deal came about is I had someone who used to work for me at Express. We changed our model. We used to have, at this particular time, we used to have people inside sales and we had people outside sales. And we changed it to where it's you're inside and outside, because we had, with the way our process was working at that time a couple of years ago, we were seeing better success of the salesperson taking it all the way from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I had this one particular person who worked for me, phenomenal outside salesperson, like bar none.
Do I know? You don't.
No, you didn't. You never met him. He calls himself the GOAT. He's definitely a good salesperson, and I love him. And I changed things, and we changed the structure, and it didn't work out. And it kind of sucked. Neither of us were happy, but it was a business thing. It wasn't personal. It didn't work out. Well, his wife is an agent. His wife referred me to someone on his team, and that's how I got in contact on this particular opportunity in Burke. I didn't know this person before this other agent. So they had this house where the sellers, they had bought another house and they had used the equity. They kind of refinanced their particular house to buy a new house, and they were just trying to break even. It was like a 1970s single family house. They had done everything on the exterior, but it was like nothing was done on the inside, like green toilets, yellow.
Oh yeah, grandma house.
The stuff that you love as an investor, like the type of house you would love to see walking in. Well, the issue was the cash that they took out to buy the new place, listing as is, was like they probably weren't going to break even. Like they needed to do some amount of work to the house. So we came in and we put together a scope. It was like $140,000, like, was the cost of the job. It was a full renovation, top to bottom, moving a wall, like everything. We redid the whole interior. And great thing is we went on the market in the spring in Burke. There's no inventory in the DC market in general.
Yeah, it's true.
But in that particular area is like really good location, close to public VRE train. And so project went well, renovation went well. We did the work, we put up all the money. We were planning to list the house. The agent was planning to list it for $640. Well, the market was going well, so they landed up listing it for $650. Well, if you go on my social media, I'm always like sharing what we're doing because I just want to let people know, hey, this is an option and kind of see what we're doing so that they can maybe be like, oh, my house looks like this. Maybe this is something that I should explore. So we were driving a lot of interest to this property as the construction was going on. Agent had a sign out that said, coming soon, newly renovated, had people trying to make offers before the construction was done. I'm like, nah, let's just wait and see. Listed the house on Thursday, had a ton of demand. I think she said like by Monday or Tuesday night offers were due. She ended up selling the house for $680,100. It went $30,000 above the list. So these sellers went from
Oh my gosh.
hoping to break even to making $100,000. I mean, it was just a win, like all across the board. Like they're ecstatic, agents ecstatic. We're happy because it was a good project for us, and has brought us some potential opportunities. So it was a home run.
Oh my goodness, that is an awesome case study, man. And that my want to add to that. How, I mean, with a successful project like that, they're going to tell everyone they know about you. I feel like your business model, it's so much easier for the goodwill to get scattered throughout the marketplace with referrals, because they're like, oh my God. And then I feel like it's going to be so much easier for you guys to get referral business. Because I've gotten referral deals in the flipping game, and it's few and far between. And when I get them, they're good ones. But for you, that type of business model, it's so much more of like Dan Kennedy talks about, like there's a very low action. There's like not a lot of resistance with your type of offer.
Yeah.
It's very reasonable. Like, you know what I mean? Like an investor offer, it's a lower offer. And like you said earlier on the show, not that many people are going to take that. But with your business model, people are a lot more receptive to that.
Not to say I don't have any competition. They don't have other options, but you're right. It sets me apart because there's this personal relationship and like hard facts. And in that particular instance, the seller, he said, hey, Tom, if you ever need a testimonial or someone wants to talk to a past customer, give my name and number. And so I did it on one like a couple months ago from someone who found us on Facebook. And he emails me back and he said, hey, I just talked to so-and-so. If she doesn't decide to do business with you guys, I don't know what's wrong with her, because I just gave her like the most glowing review. And when we sat down to sign the paperwork, she's like, yeah, I talked to so-and-so. And like, he just talked about how awesome it was. So it's cool because it feels good, right? Like it keeps me motivated to like starting a business. This is like the hardest thing I've ever done. But I'm all in, and like, I'm like super focused on what I'm doing, but getting those moments where like people are like genuinely like really appreciative of what you've done, like it makes all the difference in the world, and that gives you that fuel to keep going and push to that next deal.
That's awesome, man. I'm really glad I brought you on the show. I'm like all pumped up right now. It's like 7 a.m.
Let's go do it in San Diego. Let's talk. We can do it.
Yeah, dude, come on out, man. I got a good old couch you can sleep on. Anyway, Tom, listen, we're going to start to wrap the show up now. So if you had to leave the audience with one more golden nugget, let's say it's someone looking to make the jump into entrepreneurship, whether they were working for a company or whether they're brand new, what would your best little quick golden nugget advice be to them? And then we'll share with everyone how people can reach out to you and find out more about Max House Price.
I think one of the things that for me that's really important is the right thing is always the right thing to do. So you're going to come into situations where you made a mistake, or you overlooked something. Like stuff happens. Like we're not perfect people. We're always going to make mistakes. So when those situations come up, do the right thing, even if it costs you money, because again, like I said, the world's a lot smaller than we realize, and all we have is our reputation at the end of the day. And if we can't maintain our reputation, like good luck. Like,
yeah, you're screwed.
We're in a different economy where you can Google anyone and find out anything about anyone. So I think it's really important to just, always do the right thing. It's just going to come back to you.
I couldn't agree more, man. That's fantastic, practical advice. So, Tom, if people were trying to get in touch with you, maybe they're in the DC market, maybe they just want to connect with you online or email, whatever, what would be the best way for people to, number one, find your company, and number two, reach out to you directly?
Yeah, just Max House Price. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram. You can see what we're doing. So Max House Price, all one word, or send me an email at tom@maxhouseprice.com. We are looking to kind of grow this into other markets. I am looking to bring someone on, and if anyone wants to chat, like I love business. I love talking about this stuff. I know you and I could talk for hours on this, but we got
Next time I'm in DC, you'll receive a phone call.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, together.
You're a hockey guy too, right? I say we'll catch a Caps game, man. Even though
let's do
I'm
it.
a Ranger fan, I hate the Capitals. But okay.
Yeah, let me know. Let's do it.
Absolutely, dude. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming on the show. You've added a ton of value today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
All right, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.